Hey guys, welcome back to Ad Lib Talk, and this is my review for Army of the Dead. Zack Snyder returns back to his original genre in what is sort of a mixed but ultimately enjoyable zombie romp through Las Vegas. But before we start with the review, as always, don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed, and please do consider subscribing. Those are the two main ways you can help support my channel here at Ad Lib Talk. Cheers, and let's get right into that review. So the movie starts off with a US military convoy leaving Area 51 with an unknown package. On the way to the destination, they crash into a car and a super powerful zombie is released from the package. The zombie kills most of the soldiers present and even infects two of them. This practically leads to a zombie outbreak in Las Vegas, which is constantly bombed by the military, which still did not manage to contain it. Instead, the government had to quarantine the whole city and is now planning a nuclear strike to destroy all the zombies present in that city. This is when we meet our protagonist, Scott. He is currently flipping burgers as a job, but it seems that he has been through quite a lot already and seems to have already won the Medal of Honor. Casino boss Bly Tanaka approaches him about a job to steal $200 million from his casino vault right before the military launch their nuke onto the city. Scott is not in the greatest of places right now, and he sort of agrees to the heist, recruiting his ex-workmates and former mercenaries Maria Cruz and Vanderho, along with helicopter pilot Marianne Peters, German safecracker Ludwig Dieter, and Mexican sharpshooter Mikey Guzman, who also brings with him his friend Chambers. This group of seasoned killers, minus Dieter, are also joined up by Scott's daughter Kate, who insists on joining so as to be able to help save her friend Gita. And so they set off on their objective of getting the money. The story itself is an interesting one because it provides us with a nice twist to the usual zombie apocalypse movie plots. I've got to be honest, I never remember watching a zombie heist movie, and this provides some much needed freshness to this genre. Zack Snyder himself is pretty much a master of this genre at this point, and it shows throughout this movie that this has been filmed and directed by someone who really truly understands, really gets this genre, understands and gets what is necessary to make a good zombie movie. And this movie is true and true a Zack Snyder movie. As I always say, when it comes to Zack Snyder movies, you will recognize them instantly. Sitting at 2 hours and 30 minutes, this is an epic indeed, because that is Snyder after all. That is not a bad thing per se, to be honest. It gives us time to get to know our characters a bit better, build this sort of very interesting world with some interesting lore to our zombies. This also means that this is not the most fast-paced zombie movie, at least for the first hour or so of running time. We get little to no action, to be honest. So this is not one of those fast-paced, hyper action movies. Expect something much slower here, more character based, more based on sort of emotions and building the characters and the relationship between Scott and his daughter and so on. Fortunately, we still get some pretty incredible scenes involving zombies. There is especially one very tense scene involving our gang who enter into a horde of hibernating zombies. Snyder does not take the whole thing too seriously. There's always this sort of sense of humor involved there, which I enjoy in a zombie movie because it is a zombie movie after all. This is directed by a person who understands tone and the kind of tone required in a zombie movie. And whilst, I'll be honest, it was a little jarring at times, sort of switching from very serious tone to sort of a light-hearted tone, overall I think it worked well, and Zack Snyder did a pretty good job in this. To give you an example of all of this, it was showcased in the very opening scene where we get to see a lot of military men and women who destroy these sort of tons of zombies, and we all get to see these sort of naked showgirls, brides, and sort of Elvis wannabes as zombies, all with the backdrop of Viva Las Vegas, the song in the backdrop, right? And it's incredibly self-conscious, and to be honest, that's probably the best aspect of this movie. The whole thing is so self-conscious, and it is a lot of plot to take in, guys. It's a very long movie, and it's a very long plot. There's, for example, the father-daughter plot, the immigrant plot, and so much more. But I think overall, it works pretty well. Now, this all means that despite having a lot of time to spend with our characters, it's still very hard to sort of create a bond with many of these characters. There are just too many involved here. The only characters who are actually given any kind of time to properly develop are Scott and his daughter Kate, as I mentioned previously. And to be honest, Bautista gives us a great lead performance as Scott, providing both the muscles and the emotions when necessary. He was really great to watch. Now, this is definitely a spectacular movie to watch. Visually, this is good stuff. It does look cheap at times, but overall, considering, I'm sure they had a decent budget for this, but it is a TV movie after all, and so the CGI, considering all that, is also quite decent. For example, the CGI used for the zombie tiger named Valentine was quite okay, in my opinion, for example. And the zombie tiger does get its time to shine, and I really enjoy the scene involving it. Vegas itself is the perfect setting for this kind of post-apocalyptic action, due especially to its very colorful fluorescent lights here and there, which serve as a great backdrop to all the action going on. The action itself is varied enough to remain fresh. Sometimes it's incredibly claustrophobic, with tons of zombies pushing onto our gang, whilst other scenes take place outside in the open and involve lots more shooting and wider shots, and that works out well as well. The previously mentioned scene involving hibernating zombies was personally one of my favorite scenes throughout the whole movie. And there's also an action scene on a helicopter, which is also very entertaining to watch. It comes around about the end of the movie. All of this is shot spectacularly. The cinematography here, taken care of by Snyder himself, is really good. And he does so successfully showcase all the action that is going on, giving us a plethora of beautifully shot scenes. And it is all extremely bloody in a quite satisfying kind of way, to be honest. Snyder definitely does not hold back on the gore. Listen, this is not all great stuff. I'll be honest, the movie is overall, far too long. And sometimes it's a bit far too slow, to be honest. It is a zombie flick after all. Snyder involves a lot of modern day themes in his movie, and a lot of this stuff is a little too shoehorned in, and definitely not subtle at all. For example, look at this white guy. He is a sexist and racist, of course. But obviously we don't watch Snyder for his subtlety. The large cast of characters sometimes feels a bit too much. Since we barely get to know any of them, I personally couldn't care less if any of them died, and so that never brought out any kind of emotion from me. This is a pity, as I get the feeling that badass characters like, for example, Chambers could have become fan favorites if given some kind of depth, but at the same time, you can only do so much. You don't have the time to develop 8, 9 characters, right? Unless you are Peter Jackson and are filming The Fellowship of the Ring. The dialogue is also quite weak at many moments of this movie, which is disappointing because there are other moments where the dialogue is incredibly sharp, witty and humorous. So it is very inconsistent, and that was another disappointment for me. Now, at the end of the day, Army of the Dead is an incredibly stylish movie with some fantastic action and shootouts, some pretty interesting zombies here and there, and is all directed by a man who knows the genre very well and sets a decent tone here. Sometimes humorous, sometimes serious, sometimes, like I said, it is a bit jarring, but overall it works fine. The movie itself is shot amazingly well. That's also one of the best aspects of this movie. At the same time, however, this movie is bogged down by a plot which is far too long and far too slow paced at times. A cast of characters which is way too long. And, considering it's 2 hours, 30 minutes, but you still don't have enough time to develop all of these different characters. And as I said, you end up not caring about pretty much all of them except for Batista and his daughter. Keeping all this in mind, I think Army of the Dead is well deserving of a 3 out of 5. And to be honest, I do recommend it for any fans of zombie movies or any fans of sort of the Zack Snyder style of movies. You will enjoy them. If not, I think I would give it a pass. It's a fun watch, but it does have quite a few issues, which pretty much stopped me from giving it a higher rating than it might have deserved. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that review. If you did, don't forget to leave a like on this video and don't forget to subscribe. Cheers, and I'll see you guys next time right here on Ad Lib Talk.